He's dead.
But you try to cheese him. Is he dead?
I don't know. 44! LOL!
In Smash, there's always a group of characters that are either going to be good or bad. And Smash for the 3DS and Wii U are no different. In this game, there's actually a much larger amount of low-tier characters because the game's roster has increased in size significantly, especially compared to previous Smash games. And also, the top tiers are extremely dominant in this game, especially if you look at the amount of DLC characters that were introduced in this game. For some of these characters, it's not their first rodeo. In fact, there's quite a bit of low-tier alumni that are in this game that have been low tiers from future Smash games as well. So be sure to stay tuned and make sure to subscribe. This character barely made the tier list, and in a nutshell, Pac Man had the largest fall off out of all these Smash 4 characters. He was extremely overrated in the game's early meta. Now, I'm not saying that to rag on the character, it's just sort of the honest truth, and the game got really hard for him the more the meta developed. Pac Man has the worst grab in the game. It is the most committal grab in probably the whole series. And it doesn't even have the most rewarding inputs either. His pummel deals a lot of damage. He even has a lot of distance on his grab, but what are you getting off of it? Sure, he sort of gets a KO throw near the ledge with his back throw. It's nowhere near as strong as like a NES back throw or a Sonic back throw, or even Mario and Luigi. And this leads into other aspects of Pac Man being really terrible. His KO power is awful. He has smash attacks, but they're really laggy and committal. And even his aerials are mostly best at comboing at low to mid percents. His best aerial for killing is his back air. His tilts are actually pretty good combo tools. Many advanced tech for Pac Man exists, like being able to Z-drop and footstool combos. He can even use a multitude of projectiles to zone, like his special moves. So early on, people thought he was actually very, very good. Over time though, the negatives definitely started to pile on, like the lack of KO power, especially the very laggy moves that held this character down because it made him outclassed by other projectile users that exist in this game. And there's also characters that are good at dealing with characters who can zone, like Rosalina and Villager more specifically, who definitely beat Pac Man. He's also one of the characters that has the highest amount of learning curve too, so why work so hard to learn tech for Pac Man when you could learn Rosalina or something? And that's why plenty of Smash 4 players switched off of Pac Man to other characters. Especially later on in the meta, there's no way Pac Man is going to survive in the Bayonetta meta, we all know. So him being outclassed led to him falling off extremely hard and just becoming a low tier. Don't worry, Pac Man, you'll be good in the next Smash game, and Villager will actually be a low tier. That's besides the point. Falco, unfortunately, was heavily nerfed, and no, I'm not just saying that. This is the worst version of the character of the whole series. They totally neutered what was so good about Falco in previous games, like his laser being one of the best projectiles in previous Smash games. Even in Brawl, you could fill the screen with multiple lasers and spam, baby. Triple lasers on screen. In Smash 4, they took away this option, and they also barely made laser fill half the screen, and his precious down air was heavily toned down. Move is a lot slower, it's a lot laggier, and Falco just got severely nerfed in almost every area. Sure, he does have a buffed recovery like Fox does in this game. He can side special and then directly input up special. His back air also became a very strong KO tool in this game, which definitely should be noted. And also his down tilt is similar to the melee version of this move, which is actually a cool way to buff it. And also they gave him some unique attacks now compared to Fox. His forward air, for example, is actually a pretty neat change. Overall, his moves are very laggy and they're not really that strong when it comes to KO power. It makes him really have to work hard in order to get the kill. And these moves are not in their best in this game despite their potential. I will give this version of the character some credit. A lot of the Smash Ultimate version is actually in the Smash 4 version of the character. So if you like what the character becomes in the next game, you kind of have to think how bad he is in this game because they did fix a lot of things. He actually became a viable character. So there is that, and he can string combos with his aerials, especially more consistently in that game. Oh boy, yes, honest content with the puns. You could say he doesn't prefer the air in this game, or maybe he does because his recovery's buffed, but you get the point. The highs are definitely not as strong in this game for him. Bowser Jr. in Smash 4 is definitely a depressing version of the character. Now on paper, he looks actually very promising. He has multiple tools that are actually pretty decent. His smash attacks on paper are strong KO tools. However, when you look deeper, his projectiles more specifically are definitely where his tools start to falter. They do a laughable amount of damage, and he has probably one of the worst projectiles in the whole game, period, being his neutral B. It looks like a basic charged neutral B, although it just lacks a lot of utility compared to other charged neutral Bs like Samus. Bowser Jr. has to commit to the move no matter what. He can't hold the charge, he can't roll out of it, he just has to shoot it, which makes the move super committal. Not only that, it's very easy to beat. You can simply just shield it, and then, you get it. It doesn't even do that much damage or even shield damage in this game like it does in future Smash games. It's not really rewarding even when you connect with it. It's not powerful. Now, side B isn't a bad projectile in this game. It is actually the best version of this move. This move gets nerfed in Smash Ultimate, fun fact. And one last cool little quirk, Bowser Jr.'s clown car armor makes sense, right? He has armor on his car that actually is supposed to allow Bowser Jr. to sponge certain attacks that hit the clown car. It's actually very much the opposite here. Bowser Jr. takes damage two ways. One by hitting the clown cart that deals less damage, and then one where you hit his body and it will deal more damage than the average character. So in a way, his body hitbox is his weak point. If you actually look at the hurt box, Bowser Jr.'s clown car doesn't even cover the entire clown car. And in fact, its weak point hitbox actually extends a little lower than it actually should. So that means certain characters' projectiles can actually reach the weak point rather easily because it extends lower than it should. It is by far one of the weird quirks that holds back Bowser Jr. because it literally makes him easier to defeat and pick apart from afar especially. And if you don't agree with me, they literally fixed this in Smash Ultimate. It was definitely something that was just very odd. Some of the other weaknesses he has, like an exploitable up special that I'm sure everyone has seen, and he actually is just, he dies. He can't really come back when he's hit out of a B. Despite having a lot of tools, his moves can just be outmaneuvered. His clown cart hurtboxes not being aligned properly makes him die early, especially for a heavyweight. However, his positives are definitely there. He is a technical character with a lot of unique tools that he can use. Forward smash is actually one of the best KO tools for how strong it is, and even his down smash is one of the strongest smash attacks in the game. His aerials can be strong for edge guarding too, for example. His side special is also one of his best tools because you can jump cancel the move. Although it does have a very weak amount of armor, which, kind of holds him down sometimes. Despite this, Bowser Jr. does have some positives in this game. He's just way too risky to use, and many people wrote him off. There was a movement of people trying to use the character in top level play, but eventually a lot of them just, switched to other characters. So he's mostly just a jack of all trades and sadly a master of none. Unlike in Melee, where Dr. Mario was better known as being the better Mario character because of the higher amount of KO power, that's not the case in Smash 4. Now, don't get me wrong, Dr. Mario is definitely a powerful character still in this game, but Mario's aerial combat got extremely good in this game, like super buffed. This is a huge difference between the two characters, as Dr. Mario is definitely more grounded in this game, and Mario is, going to be doing aerial combos, and he has a new finisher like his up special. Dr. Mario, although he still has the strong forward air that he was known for in Melee, it's an amazing tool in this game, and his pill is a great projectile. He can actually pack a punch still on many of his attacks. However, he sort of has the Little Mac syndrome, where if he is off stage, his recovery is absolutely terrible, especially if you're reliant on his up special only, as his cape doesn't stall in the air at all anymore. It has very bad recovery utility. And sure, down special is more consistent in this game, it just doesn't offset the terrible recovery that he just has in general. This is easily one of the biggest flaws of the character, and even Dr. Mario just speed is severely toned down in this game. Getting nerfed walk speed, dash speed, and an extra frame of jump squat too, okay. Sure, his jump is higher in this game, and Doc can actually wall jump, which is a nice little sprinkle of a buff right there. They just nerfed his jump squat for no reason, in my opinion. That is a quick way to make a character really bad, and I've made plenty of videos on stuff like this. He's slower Mario, basically. If you want to play a viable version of Mario, just play Mario, as he is the much better version of the character. Dr. Mario doesn't have the same level of consistent combos, especially in air, and it shows that a slower Mario on the ground and in the air can definitely just hold you down significantly. Early on, people were speculating that this character was very good. This was extremely early on in Smash 4's prehistoric meta, I guess you could say, before the game even came out. Hungrybox's Kirby made it to the grand finals of a Smash Invitational. Unfortunately, Kirby in Smash 4 did not maintain this success when the game actually came out. Overall, this is a really nerfed version of Kirby, especially compared to Brawl, where Kirby was a mid-tier. This isn't the only time the character has been a low tier. I'm sure you all can remember in Melee as well. Kirby's range is extremely stubby in this game, and it makes it hard for the character to approach and find openings. Many characters can outrange him and outspace him. It's not very difficult at all for a character to do this. Kirby is also, one of the lightest characters in the whole game. This is the game where they introduced rage, and the ceilings are lower than ever, so it makes it easier to lose stocks in this game. That's not going to benefit Kirby's survivability or even his recovery. It's alright, but it's just overall pretty subpar. Despite having multiple jumps, the character is really floaty. He doesn't have a solid way of dealing with projectile spam. In fact, range has always been a problem for Kirby. However, this version of the character has even less range. Just why? Kirby's air acceleration, airspeed is lower in this game, and it makes approaching with him even worse. Kirby's damage potential has been toned down. In this game, many moves losing their ability to auto-cancel, like forward air. Some people might not like the changes to hammer flip actually becoming a hard-hitting tool, but some people think this move is kinda gimmicky, and fun fact, there's leftover animations in Brawl proving that they plan to include this charge mechanic back then. Down throw also lost its combo potential that it was known for having in previous Smash games, and Kirby has a faster dash, and he also has some reliable combo starting tools, but overall Kirby just is going to struggle to kill in this game, especially compared to past Smash games. A lot of his moves got damage nerfs and like a majority of his aerials, and sure, he has an up smash that can actually KO now, which is, cool, I guess that helps him a little bit. They toned down random aspects of the character, like doing this, Kirby now loses a stock first, and this is consistent with other characters that have moves like this. He has no grab armor on his inhale. Moves just have shorter duration and more lag, like forward smash. Kirby doesn't have a ladder combo in this game. He doesn't have bread and butter KO options, so this is just going to factor on how bad Kirby is in this meta. He doesn't have a lot of reward and cheese, and those are the type of things you kind of need in Smash 4. Wow, the first time I'm ever talking about Wii-Fit-Trainer, who would have thought? Wii-Fit-Trainer has been ranked as a low tier pretty much all the way to the very beginning of Smash 4's meta. Wii-Fit-Trainer's strengths are their multiple projectiles, their decent KO power, and their moveset having a buffing system, which is their deep breathing that actually is very unique for their character. However, the Wii-Fit-Trainer is also really weird. Probably one of the strangest characters in the whole game. They have some very deceptive moves. And I think also it's just how uncommon Wii-Fit-Trainer is. A lot of people don't know how to play against this character. A lot of people just don't have matchup experience to Wii-Fit-Trainer. Their smash attacks don't have a lot of range, and this can hurt their ability to get KOs. Their grab range is also terrible. Their grab inputs are not good either. Some of their moves are even really committal, so it makes KOing with them difficult to do. Their recovery, it isn't that safe, and even their buff system, the deep breathing tool, isn't that good because the buffs don't even last for a significant period of time. And they also have a long recharge period. You can try camping with their projectiles, that's a solid game plan for Wii-Fit-Trainer, but they just don't have the consistent combo tools in this game, especially compared to most of the characters higher on the tier list who definitely do. It is basically similar to Pac Man, having a steep learning curve, but ultimately being outclassed by many characters higher than them. This would be the start of the trend of Dedede being a low tier. To be real, it's kind of expected in a way. The Smash 4 version of Dedede is a severely nerfed version of Brawl Dedede. The character was known for an insane punish game with their ability to chain grab and actually kill extremely early, like with their up tilt or their down throw being their chain grabbing tool. Those aspects of the character did not get transferred over to Smash 4. I mean, no surprise there, they were kind of lame. And now he has a very unremarkable grab. His iconic back air was toned down significantly. They made his already slower speed even slower in this game, and even his overall attacks are just some of the slowest moves in the whole game. They nerfed his projectile and they made it into the Gordos, which can also be easily reflected back on Dedede. While these never had this problem in the past, I think they were worried about the projectile becoming way too strong, but they allowed it to easily be countered, which just doesn't make any sense, but okay. And the worst flaw of the character is his premier KO options are extremely risky in this game. His up tilt, a shell of the former version of this move, His fastest attacks are not even that strong, and Dedede's slowest attacks are super punishable. Forward tilt did become a KO tool, yes, and he even got a new down tilt and new forward air. However, some of these new tools would be nerfed in balance patches for no reason. So, they did nerf Dedede, yes. New moves lost their ability to auto-cancel like forward air. They just made his moves way too committal than they used to be. They overall made Dedede go from a premier character in Brawl's meta to being a very basic, bad heavyweight character. Don't get me wrong, I'm not surprised they removed things like chain grabbing or they toned down some of his moves from Brawl, but they nerfed him pretty hard in a lot of areas. Fun fact, Dedede is slower in the air than Shulk with the Shield Minato art. Yeah. This definitely affects his recovery and it makes him easier to juggle in the air. As if juggling him is not already easy enough, but there's that. Surprise, surprise! Ganondorf is a low tier again. Almost in the same exact spot the character was last time. And it won't be the last time he's a low tier either. To be real, Ganondorf was actually buffed pretty minimally in this game. They didn't change him all that much, but they did, sprinkle some stuff towards him. He is technically better than the Brawl version, but he's still, the trademark slow, laggy character who gets comboed and easily camped, especially by projectiles or characters who can outrange him. The small number of buffs he would receive, his dash attack was heavily buffed into a combo tool. You can immediately follow it up into an aerial. He actually is technically stronger than the Brawl version, which is a nice plus. As, yes, if you can remember, in the Brawl version, he had, terrible KO power for being a heavyweight. That's really ironic because in Melee, he was, seen as, too strong, apparently, to the devs, so they toned him down so much he just wasn't strong enough, and now they, threw him a couple bones. He has stronger KO tools like his Wizard Foot, his smash attacks, his aerials. They even stripped away a lot of the weird sour spots he had on certain aerials, and it makes them more effective. Like, for example, Nair has much more combo potential now, and it's definitely got a speed increase too. They even made the Warlock Punch and up tilt more powerful. Ganondorf no longer gets chain grabbed to death because, that's gone. He's still a heavyweight character that just can take advantage of rage, right? These things made him marginally better than the Brawl version, but in my opinion, he's still very much the same character archetype-wise, and this is why he is still a low-tier character. Sure, they did boost the speed of some of his attacks, they definitely made him stronger. It's like if Ganondorf had a bunch of cuts and they just gave it a kiss and then they sent Ganondorf on his way. He's not really fixed at all. And especially in this game, he's almost got the same exact problems as the previous Brawl version of Ganondorf. And even you could say even future versions of Ganondorf will too. He does have some things going for him, sure, but they ultimately are the reason why he's still a bottom 3 character in this game. Sure, Ganondorf's air dodge is fast, but Ganon also has a nerfed airspeed, and his combo game and recovery also are slightly affected by this too. In Smash 4, this is one of the most consistent games as far as recoveries go, and yet Ganondorf just has a very bad recovery. Sure, his down throw has decent combo utility, but his grab is still not anything to scoff at all. It's so short. His shield size is also pretty small for how big his character model is. Sure, they even slightly buffed his jab speed, but they nerfed his rolls for some reason. Most characters in Smash 4 got major mobility buffs, but Ganondorf still is just doing his thing, which you can argue makes him even slower compared to the much faster characters in this game. It's just the trials and tribulations of being Ganondorf in Smash. Don't worry, he will be a top tier in the next Smash game. The second Brawl low tier alumni returning again in Smash 4 is Zelda. Zelda had many opportunities for growth in Smash 4. She was separated from Sheik, allowing Zelda to have a free slot for her down special. And this in turn allowed the two characters to have two separate directions in the meta. Sheik just became obviously a very dominant character in Smash 4, became one of the best characters, if not the best character, before DLC entered the scene. But Zelda just stayed where she was at, similar to Ganondorf. The character is playing pretty much the same type of game. I know there's a lot of Zelda fans out there, but she's still pretty bad in this game, despite being slightly better in some areas. She's still slow, laggy, and doesn't have a lot of survivability, and you could argue that rage mechanic and lower ceiling makes Zelda even worse survivability-wise. One of the premier new moves for the character was her down special, which is Phantom Slash. Not only is this move very lackluster in this game, it feels like a beta version of what the move is supposed to be in Smash Ultimate, where it is a much better attack. This early version of the move is just way too committal, and it's just not strong at all. It's way too weak for the amount of work you have to set up this tool for. There's also plenty of cooldown for the attack, so you can't really use it that much. It's overall kind of gimmicky in this game. She still has a high risk, high reward moveset, still having her very strong forward air and back air. The same thing also applies to her up air and down air. She tends to get shut down by characters who just are super aggressive because of how lightweight she is. Her combo throws are pretty average, and Zelda actually has plenty of KO power in the moveset. Her main flaw is the lack of mobility. They did try to buff this here and there, but it was really so minimal it just doesn't make a big difference to her viability. And in fact, like previous Smash games, her moves are still very committal, especially when you play defensively. You can just see how glassy the character is. There's plenty of problems adding up for Zelda. Sure, her down special was an opportunity to buff her moveset, but once you manage to get around this, Zelda and her survivability is still very terrible. Fun fact, a lot of her aerials were even given nerfs, like to their startup, or plenty of attacks have gained more end lag, like forward air or back air. Why? I have no idea. Zelda was already bad enough in Brawl, so they didn't really do her too many favors. She did get a down throw that she can use as a combo throw in this game, but the new edition doesn't really save the just mega amounts of problems that are adding up for the character. The character even received a slew of buffs in Smash 4's updates. Unfortunately, this didn't save the character from where Zelda ended up being, as her weaknesses have always seemed to hold the character down in Smash. It's really unfortunate to see, but that's why Zelda is where she is. The one and only, the worst character in Smash 4 was previously one of Melee's best. This character was a low-tier alumni in Brawl. Now they technically are even lower on the tier list, being the worst character in the game. Jigglypuff. First off, in this engine, Puff was just not given too many favors. Many characters in this game are moving faster in the ground, while Puff, ever since Brawl especially, her grounded options were severely toned down. This version of Jigglypuff has to deal with characters that have higher amounts of KO power and speed, and they especially are just going to outclass Puff on the ground. Her survivability has also just been a main issue for the character even in Melee, but how she offsetted this was her insane amount of aerial mobility and KO power and offensive potential to outweigh her terrible survivability. But in Brawl, they obviously nerfed her offensive capabilities so hard to where she ended up becoming a low tier, but in Smash 4 she can die even easier because of rage, and the top blast zone is made lower, which again, this hurts Puff's survivability just like a lot of other characters who are lightweight. Also, Smash 4's edge mechanics nerfed Puff because this was how she could edgeguard characters in previous Smash games, was to try to wall of pain them. And also, characters have buffed recoveries in this game, so it's even harder to do this. You can no longer do like cheeky little gimps like you could in Melee. And with Puff's bad survivability, it means when she's off stage, she's even more in a disadvantaged state because her recovery options are actually nerfed in this game, like side special. Getting its distance nerfed, and I sure it can break shields now, that's actually kind of cool. However, Puff's jumps are much lower, and sure, Jigglypuff still has the rest, which has been buffed to KO power in this game and has a longer duration, making it easier to kill with, and it even has less end lag and a larger hitbox. Sing was also massively buffed in rain. People saw this stuff early on and they were like, wow, Puff must be good in this game, yay. Her aerials or mobility are still a big part of why this character is so difficult to play. Although Nair has been made into a combo tool, back air is no longer a wall of pain tool, now becoming a stronger KO tool, which I know some people could see as a positive and a negative. Many of her aerials have increased lag, some of them getting nerfed in KO power like forward air, which was one of her few KO tools that she had in Brawl. Many of Jigglypuff's smash attacks deal less damage and have smaller hitboxes like forward smash and down smash. And sure, Puff's grabs have less lag, but they traded it for less range. Even Rollout for some reason has its recovery utility slightly nerfed, as they gave it a slew of nerfs, losing its damage and knockback and recovery utility if you hit somebody. Even during the balance patches, they didn't buff Puff like, people wanted them to. In fact, it became a meme. To be real, Puff in this game is very similar to the heavily nerfed Brawl version. Sure, there is some nice changes here and there, but it didn't improve the character that heavily. In fact, many things were nerfed too, which pretty much hits the nail on the coffin for Puff in this game. Fun fact, people early on thought this character was going to be at least a mid-tier character, but then as the meta developed, it quickly just went south for Jigglypuff, which is kind of sad to see, as this did definitely affect Puff in Smash 4's lifespan. That's the video, Smash 4's low tier characters. They exist. Thank you guys for watching the video. There's a Patreon down below if you guys want to support the channel. It seriously means a lot to me. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Stream Sapphire by Zach Honest. Take care. You guys have a good one. There's more low tier videos. Check them out right here.